Have you ever had spaghetti and catfish?
No,
Me neither.
no, especially like spaghetti with red sauce and catfish. I don't know what the cuisine is for that. I don't know what spaghetti goes with catfish, but normally when you have like a seafood pasta, doesn't really, I mean, it sometimes goes with the red sauce, I guess. I don't know. I no, I've never had it, and I don't know if that's the right way to have spaghetti. It's with
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's more of a Cajun delicacy, but I'm with you. I think I would go more fettuccine in catfish.
yeah. I don't know. It looked
Like
like
a
catfish
light
parm.
cream as opposed to the red sauce.
What we're talking about here looked like catfish parm.
Yeah. So what we're referring to is Clay Thompson and Megan the Stallion are dating now, and there's a video. Do you have it, Steven? There's a video where
I don't.
Jesus, you want to talk about this? And
I never wanted to talk about this.
yes, you did. You told me you did. Don't
I
don't don't,
mentioned
don't
this.
lie.
I
Don't you
meant
lie.
I mentioned this at the end as just like a little quick side note. I'm just saying that if we were already annoyed enough with the Taylor Swift and Travis Kelsey thing showing up on our television screens, well, just wait until the NBA starts, and we're already getting like at least we don't see them on social media parading around their whole relationship, which is
Steven,
making TikToks of it.
this relationship between Clay Thompson and Megan the Stallion will no way be close to Taylor Swift and Travis Kelsey. There's no chance whatsoever.
What do you mean?
What do I mean? He plays in the NFL. Taylor Swift is more well known. There's no way. It appeals to a wider demographic. Let's be real. Yeah,
Sure.
they're. It's not going to be the same thing.
Sure, but I am just treating this like any other relationship. If I see someone posting nonstop about whatever they're doing, it annoys me. It's just me. It's a personal problem, maybe. They're having fun, they're living their life, whatever. But it's just a me thing. I get annoyed by it
I could see that if you were a single man, but you're happily married. So why do you care?
because it's just annoying. Like, why would that be annoying if I was a single man versus a married man?
Because if you're a single man, you'd be like, "Oh, look at Clay Thompson. He's so happy, son of a bitch."
It's not that. It's not that. It's just it's the heavily edited TikToks showing what they're doing throughout their day. It's not just. I think any man in a relationship would get annoyed by that.
Is it just from Megan the Stallion's social media?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't care. Like, I haven't seen a bunch of TikToks, to be completely honest. I'm not on TikTok, but I saw the catfish video, and my first reaction was, ugh. And I never heard of that before. And I can't, I mean, when you're in a new relationship, you say things just to say things sometimes. So Clay Thompson would be like, "Oh, this is my favorite dish of all time." I highly doubt that. But, you know, if she makes a good catfish and spaghetti with red sauce, then by all means. I'm sure he's having fun, puts up with the food.
Apparently so, AJ. I'm yucking Clay's yum. I might be.
Just a tad.
Yeah. I don't know. Does Clay strike you as the type that wants his whole relationship to be put out on social media? Because that's as private of a person, even though we were let into his life a little bit with Rocco and the newspaper stuff and whatnot. He did not say, I don't know, repost the TMZ videos where he's like leaving a club with multiple women in the same car.
Well, why the hell would he repost
that? Exactly. I don't know.
Unless he was a pompous asshole, which Clay is not like that. But right. I mean, you would know better than me. He's dated, I think, Instagram models and the woman that was in Black Klansman. I don't know how public the relationship was, so I can't say.
Yeah, Laura Harrier. She was also in Spider-Man too. I don't know if they're happy that it's fine, but it's just like the social mediaification of
I see what you're saying.
That gets me. Like I don't know. I don't want to be out here talking mess about Clay Thompson. I love Clay,
no,
but I don't know. Whatever.
No, I hear you. I did laugh. Have you seen that video where I don't know where they're at, but they're attending some fancy gala and someone's singing like old school, like like that old song, like ba da dee 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 dee, and everybody like sings along with it.
Yeah.
So she's like someone's singing that, and then Megan the Stallion's in the crowd being like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" And then Clay's like, "Ah." like almost like I'm dating that girl. Okay.
Whoa. I like I do it is funny seeing responses to it because Megan Thee Stallion's definitely one of those who is well liked
Yeah.
among the, I guess, manosphere on social media.
Would
And
you call it manosphere?
manosphere, yeah, that's what it's called now.
Okay.
Get with the times, Derek. And
I don't have
uh,
to.
and it was the same thing with Cameron Brink, who now plays for the Sparks. Anytime something is posted of Cameron Brink and her boyfriend, it's always people commenting, "This guy hurting you? Who is this guy? Is this guy bothering you?" In the comments to every single like relationship post, it gets me every time
All
with
right.
how they're talking about Clay and how he's feeling about the relationship. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
I'm not gonna yuck Clay's yum. And our guy Daniel Loggins in the chat, who doesn't like a good woo girl? I'm with you. But yeah, when it's Megan Thee Stallion, yeah, you'll put up with that.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
your opinion, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Papa, we're coming to you on a Sunday morning, early at 10 a.m. because Stephen has to go to a barbecue later on. So we'll try to do this relatively fast. But I saw some people in the chat talking about their fantasy football drafts. Lauren F has one later tonight at 7:30. Gotta say, early. I haven't even thought about fantasy football, and I'm the commissioner for the one we have for KMBR. Real quick, Steven, if one person in particular has an issue with the fantasy time, do you have to change it for them?
No,
Yeah.
I think my and I'm not just saying this because he's my supervisor, but my supervisor at work is also the commissioner of our league, and I actually think he did a really good job of delegating the work with that. So he gave us a bunch of times. He said, this date on with this time, blah blah blah. He gave us a few options, and then he said to rate it, 5 being like the 5 being that this is the time that you most want, and 1 being the time that you just really can't do. And so you rate them, and then he totals up the points at the end, and whichever one has the most points, that's what we're going to do. That's the date that we're going to go with. And I think that was a very fair way of doing it.
Now that's fair, but also complicated. I'm more of a dictator. I'm just like, this is the date and this is what we're doing.
Yeah, you'd have to do math if you had to do that, Derek, and that's not your strong suit, I imagine.
No, a lot of things are not my strong suit. But Brian Murphy was like, well, I'll be flying on Monday. Yeah, I want to do it on Labor Day. He's like, well, I'll be, flying on an airplane then. So hopefully my Wi-Fi works. I'll passive aggressive like. And I'm like, that's too bad. That is too bad. It works for everybody else. So too bad.
Well, his Wi-Fi should work. The Wi-Fi should work. You should be able to do fantasy football up in the air.
Yeah. So no complaining.
Dude, I told you this before the baseball season started. Dude, I did fantasy on the way to the airport and through security getting home from Vegas before the season started. That was back in back in March.
You're talking about a baseball fantasy draft?
Yeah, I was doing a baseball draft, so I totally forgot that it was happening. It started when I was in the Uber on the way to the airport, and I'm in the line waiting for security doing the draft. And then luckily I picked right before I got through the line. So I managed to get through it. And as I get my phone back and go through security, I'm on my pick. I'm literally in the time of my pick, and I got like 30 seconds to do it. And I kind of just made one on a whim. But point being, people always come up with excuses. You can get around it. And I don't know. Sorry, Murph, but it feels like being on a flight. You should be able to get that done.
Yeah, he'll figure it out. Yeah, I and Lauren F is like, you're slacking, Derek, when it comes to the fantasy draft. I think it's a little too early. I think you got to do it after Labor Day.
Well, it's not great when your commissioner says, I haven't really thought about fantasy football and we're already done with the preseason. I got to be honest.
Well, now I'm in that mode. Today's like the first time where I'm like, all right, you know what? It's time to get ready, because today and tomorrow is when you're going to see a lot of shit, going on with rosters, maneuvers, and whatnot. Trades have already gone down. So to already say like, okay, this guy's going to be on this team and that guy's going to be on that team, like I think that's too early. Like all reports say that Adam Thielen might be headed to the Minnesota Vikings, and he's not like a huge fantasy player, but when you get into the weeds of this thing, I want to wait till the rosters are somewhat finalized.
That makes sense. I do agree with you that tonight's for Lauren might be a little early.
Yeah, I think so. But fantasy around the corner, and Steven and I are once again in the Tickle My Butthole League, thanks to our good friend Jacob Violante. And I think we know the draft order, but it's hard to tell because the commissioner of that league, not Jacob, the commissioner of that league set up a cameo where the draft order was read by a Russian porn star, and it was very hard to hear her.
Very awkward.
Yeah.
I didn't like who is. I don't know anyone in this league really besides Jacob, and I think
Jimbo
and Ryan is the other guy.
Yeah, Ryan. Yeah, Ryan is the commissioner. That's his buddy that he used to.
Oh, so it was Ryan who set it up.
Yes, he got in touch with said Russian porn star who loved to bounce up and down when she was reading the names.
I have a wife, Derek.
I can't divulge this information. Come on, Jesse is cool.
Yeah. No,
show her the video.
She's in the shower right now, and she's probably not going to listen back to this pod. So
she'll laugh at the video. It's funny.
I haven't showed her the video yet.
You should. It's actually pretty hilarious.
It's ridiculous.
You can't understand a word she's saying, but you can see her boobs. Not like her bare boobs, but Anyway, all right. Let's get into some football, shall we? All right. So the last week of the preseason, and I got to say, I was watching a lot of these games yesterday with my pops, and this is the first time where my dad wasn't like broadcasting while preseason was going on. He was like, "They got to do something about this preseason shit, huh?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Yeah, it's just unwatchable." I'm like, "Where you been? It's been unwatchable for quite some time." And he's like, "Yeah, I know, but just televise the joint practices at this point. This is no one cares about these games." And I was like, "Dad, you have been so focused on the Niners or Raiders for so long now that you haven't realized that most fans hate preseason." He's like, "I didn't realize how bad it was." I'm like, but then again, like I told you, it's not for us. It really isn't for us. It's for the coaches.
From the outside looking in, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Like
my dad's been doing games in the NFL for over 25 years. Maybe I think we're coming up to 30 years now. And now he's like, "Yeah, preseason sucks."
Yeah, but even then when he was broadcasting, like he had to have thought, "God, these games are terrible."
Not when you're
or
so
I guess
focused
you're just
on
so in the moment that you can't
exactly.
You can't even like have actual thoughts on what's going on because you're just so focused on the next thing and you don't want to mess up the broadcast. Like if you get out of sync, out of rhythm, then I guess that'll throw you off entirely and you won't be able to do your job correctly. So I guess I understand it.
And it's also the hardest thing to do as far as a broadcaster is these preseason games where you have to memorize so many names. Like I commend my pops and Tim Ryan and Guy Haberman, all the guys that do preseason games that have to remember most of these guys that probably won't be on the roster when it's all said and done. The only game, what's really a struggle is these last preseason games. Back in the day when you and I were growing up, it's usually the fourth preseason game. Now it's the third preseason game where nobody plays for the most part. I know Patrick Mahomes did it for a little bit of time on Friday night, but most of the time nobody plays. Even the guys.
Did you see Mahomes?
What?
That guy looked good. he looked really good.
Newsflash, he's good.
Yeah. That guy looked really good. He was.
He's going to be something.
He was. Yeah, that guy has a bright future in this league. He might make the team.
Yeah, you sound like Trump right now. He's like, I have a feeling about Mahomes. He's going to be good.
I said this all the way back when he was playing for Texas. It's Texas Tech, Donald. Yeah, that's what I said. Texas Tech.
Yeah. God. But yeah, the only time that like a fourth preseason game stood out to me, and I think you would agree with me, Stephen, is when Derek Carr not lit up, but had a good performance against the Legion of Boom his rookie season.
I was locked into that preseason game, man. Of course I remember.
We all were as Raider fans, and I remember being like, ooh. I still didn't think, though, he should have started. But then they made him the starter, and right choice because Matt Schaub was just completely lost.
He was doing he's going to be doing in studio work, and this is kind of a side note, but Derek Carr is going to be on the YouTube broadcast for the
Is he now?
Season opener. Yeah, he's going to be in studio.
Okay. I'm looking forward to that because I don't know if you saw yesterday, he was criticizing the Cleveland Browns for not having Shedeur Sanders out there for the 2-minute drill. And I tweeted out like, I need this. I need Carr critiques. Hashtag Carr critiques where I want him calling out quarterbacks and coaches all season long.
Hey, for all the stuff that I've said about him on this podcast, as far as how his career ended with the Raiders and how I think people were making too much of a big deal out of it, and I thought it was kind of I was kind of on the unfortunately I was on the Raiders side with it because I understood it and I didn't like how Carr handled it at the afterwards. Kind of threatening that he was going to tell the whole truth on what happened, even though none of the real truth came out. Same with his brother too. But with that being said, I think Carr is going to be tremendous on that broadcast. I think he understands how to break down the game. I think he's really smart. I just think with the Raiders, time had run its course, but that doesn't mean I don't think he's going to be really, really good in the analyst role. I think he's going to be fantastic. Shoot, like you actually made good points saying that he might come out of retirement and play again. But if he's that good at this and, some broadcast wants to pick him up and maybe he could be an in-game analyst, maybe that's the route that he takes. But
I wouldn't be surprised. I am kind of leaning in the direction that he is going to come back just because he didn't like the way that the Saints were kind of screwing with his money.
Sure.
But and he has a legitimate shoulder issue right now. But if he's good on TV, he might be inclined to be like, you know what? Screw it. I'll just keep doing this.
I think he's going to be really good. I really do. If you didn't get that already from the amount of times that I've repeated that.
Yeah. Real quick, Lauren F. asks us, what do you guys think about Micah Parsons' antics this weekend? I mean,
what did he do?
He laid on the trainer's table and acted like he was bored during a preseason game. Whatever. I don't make too much of that.
Didn't someone say that, like, I don't know if you could say for lack of a better term, but didn't they take that out of context? Didn't he lay there for like a few minutes and it just happened to be like one photo taken and that's just the snapshot, and you think that he's sleeping during a preseason game or something?
Yeah, exactly. I think he addressed it too, being like, I was there for a split second just stretching. It wasn't like I was bored. I wouldn't disrespect my other teammates. Now, he did walk to the locker room and someone yelled out to him. They're playing in the Falcon Stadium. And someone's like, play for the Falcons. He was like, making a gesture like, call my agent or something. And the whole thing, I do think they're going to get a deal done. I've been watching the Cowboys documentary, and this is just Jerry Jones being Jerry Jones. Like the whole thing that the analogy he's making of, Mama said, Daddy said. Basically, I think what's going on here is he had a handshake agreement done with Micah Parsons. He went back to his agent, and Micah, as I was telling you, didn't like yes, everything sounds good when you're like, you're going to be the highest paid defensive player. You're going to get the most guaranteed money. But there's little things. There's little things that the agent's fighting for. So Micah goes back to Jerry, and he's like, hey, David Mulugeta told me to tell you about this. And Jerry's like, we already shook hands. I'm not buying this thing. I do think that they're going to get a deal done before the season starts.
Listen, man, I'm still going to, you still believe Jerry when he says that he offered him the most guaranteed money. I haven't seen anyone push back against that, but I don't believe it. I just really don't believe it. He says he did, but I just don't buy it.
I don't think he's a liar in that regard. I think that he's just, I mean, he might lie about certain things, like some off-the-field stuff, but I don't think that Jerry Jones would lie about what he offered to Micah Parsons.
I think he would. I mean, that's where we're just going to have a disagreement. I think he would. Like the thing about
I think at this point, though, dude, sorry, but I do think at this point, if David Mulugeta came out to everybody and said, I never told Jerry Jones to shove it up his ass, I think he would be like, we have never gotten an offer from Jerry Jones that he's going to be the highest paid defensive player in football. I think they would have refuted that at this point.
Yep, maybe. Look, I'll say this about the Cowboys doc too. I think in the last podcast I mentioned like I'm not liking it. That's just because it was Jerry Jones heavy the first 3 episodes. After the first 3 episodes, I got over that, and it became more about the team and the rise and the fall. It became way more interesting after those first 3 episodes to me. I thought episodes 4 through 8 really were tremendous.
Okay, we'll talk about it more in pop culture catch-up because I've been watching it, and that has been my critique of late. But let's get to the 49ers, as they made a trade on Friday. And I didn't think they were going to do this. Same way I didn't think they were going to trade for Christian McCaffrey, but they did. I thought that they would have been fine with the running back room, but now it seems that they're not high on Isaac Arendo right now, given the injuries and the fumbling issues in practice. Jordan James still has that broken finger. A lot of other question marks going on right now. So they do make the deal for Brian Robinson. 6th-round pick in 2026. I think it's a solid move. I think that, he's not a running back number one. I think that they were trying to make him that in Washington, and he's just not that guy. They can, make it interchangeable with who they have. They had Austin Eckler, and they're now going to go with the rookie they drafted out of Arizona. What's his name? Jaworski. What is it? Basically, he goes by Bill Merritt. Bill Korsky Merritt. Even though that's not his real name, he goes by Bill.
Okay.
And it's kind of the same deal, like where Shanahan can find diamonds in the rough when it comes to running backs. I think Cliff Kingsbury could do the same thing. And, of course, Adam Peters and John Lynch know each other, so they can do the deal easily like they did for Debo. I will say that Brian Robinson has never rushed for more than, I think, 799 yards. Last year was a career high for him with 8 rushing touchdowns. But Dieter Kurtenbach tweeted this out, and I agree with him. He just gets what's blocked, nothing more, nothing less. I agree with that. I think that he's just not an amazing running back. The longest run I've ever seen him have was a year ago when he played Tennessee, and everything was blocked, and he rushed 40 yards out for the touchdown. He doesn't have breakaway speed. He can bulldoze. He can bulldoze guys on his way to the end zone, but he's not an amazing running back. I think that we give him more respect because of where he went to school with Alabama, and people know him because of the unfortunate story similar to Ricky Pearsall. Right. He got shot before the season started. I think he's a good running back, not a great running back, but I think he fits the scheme pretty well. He's a solid number 2. This may help spell Christian McCaffrey even more. You may see more red zone carries for Brian Robinson, but it's not like they're getting another starting running back. It's a solid number 2, and honestly, I think that you could make the argument that Jordan Mason's kind of a similar guy. I don't know if Brian Robinson's even better than Jordan Mason, but it's a solid move for the here and now.
He's not. He's not better than Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason's way quicker than Brian Robinson.
You think so? Okay.
Yeah. However, I don't know. There's a couple of things to question, but the bottom line is you got a big-bodied back who's 26 years old, and he can play a physical style, and you can use him in the red zone if you need to. I don't think you're going to need him in the long field. I think if he's your number 1 running back, then you might be in a little bit of trouble. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't think there's too much downside to this move.
Yeah.
But I also don't think it's going to be what makes the difference in wins or losses this year. I just think it's a pretty solid pickup. But I guess my question is, if you want to get into the, the weeds of football, I'm seeing a lot of Kyle Shanahan can make it work with any running back. That's not true. We have seen it not work with certain running backs before. And if he continues to run, I guess my question is it going to be a scheme thing where it just might not work? Kyle Shanahan obviously uses a lot of zone runs, both inside and outside. And that's what Cliff Kingsbury used a lot. And he used it, I think, half the time. And I think Brian Robinson gives you some explosive plays. I think he can, looking at highlights from last year, you can get caught up in a scrum in the middle of the line of scrimmage, and then he could bounce to the outside and break away. But he's also not going to have the speed to outrun defenses. So I agree with Dieter. And there's also a thing with Doug Farrar. He had this great article on running backs in which in the type of concepts, who are best at running these concepts. Like, for example, Derrick Henry, the best at running power. Jahmyr Gibbs is the best at running outside zone. And the one he had for Brian Robinson was the trap concept, where they leave one defensive player unblocked to one side and then traps that player with the block from the other side of the line. And Robinson was at his best when they ran that concept. I'm sure they're going to with Kyle Shanahan, but my question with him and what lies with the team as a whole and for the season is, can that offensive line adjust to that? Can they, I know Kyle Shanahan can get the best out of his players and put them in the best positions to be successful and maximize their talent, but do they have enough talent on the offensive line to maximize what Brian Robinson wants to do? And that's just going to be my larger question. Again, I don't have any problem with Brian Robinson, the player. I think he's a good player. I think it's a I think it's a solid move. And I also think you have to question why the Commanders would be willing to give that up. Why would you be willing to do that for a team that's within the conference? Like, I just, if it is, I mean, does Adam Peters, I know he's like close with John Lynch and everything, but do you really want to do like the other team a favor? I don't know. I think you have to wonder that.
They're high on Bill Merritt, and it's an expiring contract. They're not going to pay him. They saw him as an average running back. I don't see him as that special of a talent.
Yeah. I don't think like Shanahan's going to turn him into some Pro Bowler. I think know what he is. And hell, if anything, I don't know if maybe Garendo turns out to be a better backup running back than he is this year, and he just proves to be the better fit, then who knows? Maybe they use him, as you mentioned, he's on an expiring contract. Maybe they use him as a piece at the trade deadline to maybe just sweeten the pot when you're trying to acquire maybe a star, especially if you're going to be playoff bound like the 49ers seemingly are going to be.
Well, I also think this takes pressure off of the wide receiving core right now because of all the injuries, and we know that Kyle Shanahan wants to run the football. So, yeah, I think that Kyle wants to do it a certain way. And as you were saying last Thursday, Stephen, it's how you scheme it up. It's Kyle, just because, you're not going to have Demarcus Robinson and Brandon Ayuk out there. He can find guys that are not wide receivers. George Kittle will play. Christian McCaffrey will play, and he's going to run the football. So there's more ways to score points than just throwing the football. But obviously you want to, you want to throw the rock a little bit. And I think that with Washington, the big sticking point for the Niners was they're going to pick up the majority of his $3.4 million. So that makes it easy to move on from him. Yeah, I don't think I think it's a win-win. I hear you. It's in the same conference and whatnot. I think that the Commanders looked at it and they saw a year ago the likes of Jeremy Nichols and other subpar running backs were thriving in that offense, that they didn't like the way that Brian Robinson was fitting. And I know it's a similar scheme, but they're like, all right, we could get something out of this running back. He has a name, so let's trade him now, and we know we could be effective with these other running backs. And I think this was a little bit of an indictment on Isaac Garendo and how his development's been. Sure. I think this takes pressure off of Jordan James. I don't know if Jeff Wilson Jr. is going to make the team now, even though he scored a touchdown last night. But I think they're only going to go with 5 running backs now. I think it's going to be McCaffrey, Robinson, Garendo, Jordan James, and Kyle Juszczyk is part of the mix. And I see what Rockin' New Era is saying here. I can't see Kyle taking off the workload of CMC. That's something I do want to ask him when he comes on this week, is just how he sees Christian McCaffrey this year, because Trent Williams was talking glowingly about him, saying he looks like the 2023 version of himself, but also you can't ignore the injuries and his age. So I do wonder if Kyle's going to be like, we got Brian Robinson, we got these younger running backs. Let's take the workload a little bit off of McCaffrey. We also know that McCaffrey's a hard ass.
But you know the answer that he's going to give to you, right?
I never know, because I did ask about the receiving core and how he felt about it, and he was just like, I asked him, like, when they're healthy, how do you view this receiving core? And he was like, I don't even know if they're healthy right now, man. Like, I can't, like, basically he was telling me I can't trust any of these guys right now, which is fair, but I really do believe this receiving core. I know people are panicking about it right now, and another injury last night with Jacob Cowing being out for the first 6 weeks of the season because of a torn hamstring. I do think when they're healthy, I do think this is a better receiving core they've had in recent years. And I know people are going to be like, there's no Debo. I think Debo was a great athlete, not a great wide receiver. I do believe when they're 100%. No, I really do.
Okay. Maybe not a pure wide receiver, but you can't tell me that he didn't make that wide receiver room much better than it is. I mean, they got more pure wide receivers, but if you're talking about the wide receiver room, Debo makes it so much better than it is going into this season, I think. Maybe not last year's version of Debo, but if you're saying in some years, like, I think that one in 2023 was as strong as they'll have in a while.
I honestly think that Debo Samuel was a good gadget player, but not the type of wide receiver that, strictly just a pure wide receiver.
Yeah, but he impacted the game. Come on.
Of course he impacted the game, Steven. I'm just talking about the receiving core, dude. I'm talking about Debo Samuel not getting off man-to-man coverage. He struggled with that in the Super Bowl. You have guys now that can beat man. You have Juwan Jennings, who's more physical, honestly. You have Ricky Pearsall, who can now just get a shit ton of catches, a more volume catcher. I like DeMarcus Robinson a little bit better.
Safety net who you could just, instead of Christian McCaffrey, other than him, do you have that safety net where you could just go to him on 3rd and short, and you could go to him behind the line of scrimmage, and he's just going to bust through whoever's trying to tackle him? Like, I don't know, man. I'm not trying to sit here and say Debo was a great pure wide receiver, but the impact that he had on that room and the identity that he established, the physical identity, it's not there anymore, I don't think, with this Niners receiving core. I just don't think so.
I hear you. I think it's going to be a better passing offense, though. I really do. I do like DeMarcus Robinson as a different type of wide receiver. I know he's not going to be out there for the first 3 weeks of the season, but I do like him just as far as what they can do in the aerial attack.
Right.
I hear you. I understand what Debo brought in a multidimensional scheme of him being a pass catcher and a running back. But I'm talking about just dropping back to throw and guys are open. Debo Samuel is not as effective as these other guys.
I'm going to have to wait to see on that, man.
That's fair enough.
That's a bold statement. I really do.
Fair enough. All right, real quick. Yeah, Rocket New Era or AJ Cruz. When can we start piling on Moody? Guys, I get it. And yeah, Kyle even himself last night was like, I was really happy with what he did a week ago and, disappointed in him kicking a ball out of bounds last night. We'll see what happens. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm not saying that Jake Moody is, impervious to getting cut this season. That could happen. That very well could happen. But let's wait for it to happen. Everybody's just wanting it to happen, it feels like. And I heard the broadcast. Tell me if I'm wrong if you heard it, Steven. It sounded like when he was lining up to kick, fans were booing him. Like, we're doing this already? And he missed an extra point. Kickers do miss extra points now. They do.
Yeah, well, fans are out on him, Derek. I think that's what I think Ernie and
fans are insane.
I think Ernie too and AJ are speaking for a pretty solid majority of the fan base. I disagree with them. I think it's kind of unfair, but whatever. It's not going to help. It ain't going to help when Moody's just walking out there feeling like he's in these high pressure situations. I do think it was a little far for Brant Boyer to say that preseason kick could change his career.
Is that what he said last week?
Yes, he said that 59-yarder is the type of kick that can change a career.
That's a little much. I think that it can instill confidence in him, but to change his career, no.
Yeah.
And Lauren F., I hear you. Moody was terrible last year. He also was hurt. He
had an ankle sprain or whatever it was.
And he missed games. And I understand that people... I think we talked about it. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know if it was here or KMBR. If he's kicking a ton of field goals, then that's an indictment on the offense. You shouldn't be relying on Jake Moody. You should be scoring more touchdowns. I think everybody just wants to pile on this guy because it's easy to kick the kicker.
It is.
And to your point, Steven, I think that it doesn't help when the whole fan base is against this guy and booing the hell out of him. So I don't know. You guys can hate on him. Let's just wait till he actually fucks up a regular season game to have all the hate.
Am I yucking everyone's yum?
Hey, Jesse's here now. Jesse, have you heard about this video that we were sent in our fantasy football? Ask Steven about it. It features a porn star. Ask him. Anyway.
Oh, boy.
Kyle also last night said that JYOM Jennings will be back for week 1. But not simultaneously, actually, I think the night before, JYOM Jennings put out a post where he's using lyrics from Offset.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I can't repeat them because they're rap lyrics. So, but basically... People are insinuating that JYOM is saying to the Niners, "You better pay me."
Heading for a divorce.
Yeah, I don't know if it's heading for a divorce, but it sounds like. What's that?
It's Offset. Cardi B.
Oh, they got divorced.
They got divorced.
Okay.
I
think that. Yeah, it sounds like JYOM thinks that he deserves a lot more money than the Niners are willing to give.
Yeah.
I think it might be a little bit more than just the 3 for 45. And this may become an issue. But it sounds like they're relatively confident about the calf injury. But It's just a matter of when he's going to actually hit the field and if he's going to be willing to play without the contract. I asked this question on Friday. Steven, what do you think happens first? He practices or he gets a contract?
Contract first.
I'm going to say he practices first because that's what leads to him getting the contract. I actually don't think with what I've kind of heard with JYOM Jennings, I don't think that they're going to give him a contract just like that anytime soon. Yeah. I think it's a little more than what's appropriate for him. And I think that, yeah, they're gonna want to see him practice a little bit, and then they can work on a contract. But JYOM Jennings has to be also reasonable about what he's asking for.
Sure. But what if he's not? What if he's not?
Well, then we got some problems. If he I've been pretty, optimistic about this receiving core, but if JYOM Jennings is not out there, then shit hits the fan.
Pretty optimistic. We just got into a little shouting match over the receiving core a little while ago. You are very optimistic, my friend.
I would say so. But yeah. I understand the injuries, but like I said, we're not playing football tomorrow.
Yeah.
So there's time for guys to heal.
But I also understand it from a 49ers perspective too. Because they went through this last year and they ended up paying $30 million, which I think has proven to be too much so far for Ayuk, considering he's going to miss the first 6 weeks of the season. They can't do that 2 years in a row. They can't just give a contract out to a wide receiver because they want a significant amount of money. I think JYOM Jennings has value, but I also think if should he, I don't know, request a trade, then you could be heading to, I know we don't want to cross-pollinate sports, a Jonathan Kuminga type situation where he thought he was going to get a lot more than whatever the Warriors were going to give him. And I think JYOM Jennings would test the free agent market test the trade market. And I think that he would find that not a lot of other teams are willing to give him the contract that he's probably searching for. If there's going to be one team that is willing to give the contract because they understand his true value, it is the 49ers. I don't think any other team is going to be willing to give him that. So I don't know. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. But I also think if he's making that much about it, where he's posting cryptic Instagram posts with less than 2 weeks until the season? 2 weeks exactly from today until the regular season?
Exactly 2 weeks from today. Oh, yeah.
If you're already doing that, I don't know what the move is. I don't know what their move is. I don't know what the 49ers do.
Yeah, I mean, JYOM could also just play the long game here and be like, all right, I'll just go into the season without a contract, and then I'll hit free agency and see if anybody's willing to overpay for me.
I think so, because at worst, you don't play and you lose a bunch of money. And I don't think he's going to be wanting to do that. No,
he's not in that position where he's only making, what was it, $7 million this year? So yeah. he's gonna need that cash. So we'll see what happens. But if I had to guess, I think JYOM Jennings is gonna play week 1. I just don't know if he's going to get paid.
Yeah, I don't either.
All right, let's move on to the Raiders. So watched a little bit of this game, and when I say a little bit, I watched the highlights because it was blacked out in the Bay Area. I think if a Raider game is going on simultaneously with a Niner game locally here, they black it out. I think it was on Cron, right? We do get the Raider preseason games, but if it goes up against a Niner game, I'm not sure we get it. I couldn't find anybody that could watch it locally here. Yeah. Regardless, watch the opening drive. Genty had a couple of carries. It was really who's my guy? Who's the other running back? The guy that you hate, Steven.
Guy that I hate?
Zamir White.
Why do I don't hate Zamir White. I
know, but you're down on him, which you should be.
Yeah, I have been.
No, the Raiders had the worst rushing offense a year ago, but he had a solid game, and he's the backup running back now, which is what he always should have been. To elevate him past Josh Jacobs, but when Josh Jacobs left and he became the number one guy, he's not a number one guy. It's clear. So yeah, Genty got a couple of carries. The most impressive guy was Dante Thornton, who where did he get drafted? In the 3rd round, whatever it was. Fourth round. Okay. He made a sweet back shoulder catch in the end zone for a touchdown. And I still don't know what to make of the Raiders wide receiver room. I'm more skeptical of the Raiders. I think the Niners have more depth at wide receiver I think the Niners have more depth than the Raiders do currently. because I'm looking around and I don't think Jacoby Myers is a number one. I don't. I think he's a solid number two. I think that Trey Tucker's a good slot guy, good big play guy. But besides that, I haven't seen much from Jack Bech in the preseason. I still think there's an opportunity to maybe go after Amari Cooper. I'm not overjoyed with their wide receivers right now. Obviously, it may be more of a running offense, and then the tight ends of Brock Bowers, who's absolutely sick, and Michael Mayer. But wide receiver wise, I don't really know. So there may be an opportunity for Dante Thornton to shine a little bit. But the biggest takeaway from the game last night was Aiden O'Connell didn't look good again. He fumbled, and I had my doubts that maybe he was even going to be the backup quarterback for this season. But then he gets hurt. He broke his wrist, and he's out 6 to 8 weeks. And Pete Carroll was saying it's a huge blow. So they do need a backup quarterback right now. When asked if I think it's a 7th round pick or whoever it was, Max Miller was going to be the backup, Pete Carroll said, I'm not sure about that. I have a proposal to you, Stephen, but just your reactions on everything last night.
And you kind of covered everything. I think Dante Thornton is just one of those big bodies wide receivers that you can get excited about. But I agree with you that Jacoby Myers isn't necessarily a number one, and Jack Bech hasn't shown much in training camp or the preseason, but I'd say just give it time. I do agree that I think it's pretty obvious that the 49ers have more depth. Not right now. Not right now. If you're talking about the wide receiver room at this current time, when Jawan Jennings isn't there and Brandon Ayuk's not there, and all you got is Ricky Pearsall and Demarcus Robinson, like I'm pretty confident that the Raiders have more depth right now. Maybe not by the time it hits week 7 of the NFL season. But I'm just kind of in wait and see mode with them. I don't want to draw too much from it in the preseason, especially when Jack Bech has been playing with the likes of Aiden O'Connell and Cam Miller. Like, let me see Jack Bech play with Geno. And the thing with Bech is he's a really good blocker. So he has some value in the running game there. But I agree, they don't have a true number one yet. And that's definitely an issue. I thought, you remember me last year, I thought Jacoby Myers was going to be a perfect trade piece because I thought you could maybe get some draft capital for him. And I thought he had some value with someone else.
Yeah.
I'd say I don't like him. But I just thought that with the team kind of fading, I figured that he would be a perfect guy to trade before the deadline. I agree, though. He's not a number one. He's confident, but I imagine, like, if you asked him, yeah, I'm a number one, but he can't really say it with that much conviction.
No.
You know?
So I've been listening to a lot of people talk about Anthony Richardson, the situation going on with the Colts. And my guy, John Middlecoff, is adamant that he believes that Anthony Richardson is going to get traded, that it's, a foregone conclusion. It's not going to work out with the Colts. They need to move on from him. I'm not so sure about that. I do think that Anthony Richardson could revive his career, maybe with a better situation. But also, the same thing happened to Bryce Young. He was benched, and then he came right back. It's a different deal, though, because Bryce Young was supposed to be ready to go. It was the first overall pick, and Anthony Richardson, I thought, was a project. But it's very similar to Trey Lance, who we saw a little bit last night as well, where it's based on potential, but not really what you saw the full package in college. It's definitely going to be a project. So I wouldn't want Anthony Richardson to be the starting quarterback for the Raiders by any means, but if I don't want to overpay for him either, like give up a high draft pick, but if the Colts are willing to move off of him, I would be intrigued to have a conversation about it. And the most I would give up is probably a 5th or a 6th, but I would be a little interested in trading for Anthony Richardson if I was the Raiders.
Anything higher than a 5th or a 6th round draft pick, then I'm even a 5th. I'm kind of like, ooh.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one. If you're in the 6th or 7th, I have no problem with that. It's a low risk move. Half of the 7th round picks don't even make their own teams anyway.
Yeah.
Like they just get practice squatted. So if you're willing to trade that for a quarterback who has a lot of talent, but also I think he needs to dial it back as far as his mindset and realize maybe he's not that good. Because I remember there was a podcast clip, I think it was from last year, even this year, where he said like the NFL game is slower than college. So slower for him than college is, and it's clearly not. So the talent's there. I'm not mad at trading for talent.
Yeah, but you got to develop it. And I think
Sure.
that maybe Chip Kelly can do that. At the same time, this guy has done a lot of things that are not going in his favor. Like a year ago, remember when he just bounced in the game when he
Yeah.
was tired and
Yeah.
said, I need to take a playoff. And unanimously across the NFL, all players were like, you can't do that. You
Yeah.
cannot do that.
Yeah.
It was a bad look. Yeah, I really don't know. What I would prefer is maybe I see what Andrew Barry's doing with the Browns right now. He went on their broadcast yesterday and said, I think we're going to go with 4 quarterbacks. I think that we're in a good situation where we want to see all 4 of these guys. And I'm like, if you have 4 quarterbacks, then you don't have one. And that means you're just kind of showcasing dudes a little bit. Or also you're just trying to figure out who the fuck is your guy going forward. And also you don't want to win this season. That's what it kind of feels like. So I know they're definitely going to keep Dylan Gabriel and Shador Sanders and Joe Flacco, of course, because he was named the starter. I still don't believe that Kenny Pickett is 100% going to be there. If a team comes in, they're not going to cut Kenny Pickett, but if a team comes in like the Raiders that are desperate for a backup quarterback right now and say, hey, we'll give you a 6 for Kenny Pickett, then I'm sure they'll be willing to, move off of him. And I'd be okay with that. I think if you lose Geno Smith for a couple of games, Kenny Pickett's not a bad option.
Either way, I don't know. I'm not going to argue against a backup quarterback. It's a backup quarterback. Not much can be worse than Aiden O'Connell.
Well, yeah, he wasn't playing.
Talk about kicking a man when he's down, but
yeah, no, seriously, Steven. Good Lord.
Sorry. I'm yucking the yum. But I don't know. I mean, it's just I'm not very. You're bringing this up, and I got to be honest. I'm not like too passionate about it. Like, go ahead if you want to trade for Kenny Pickett. Okay, I'm not against it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's
crazy.
Yeah, I know. Like, it's an improvement from where the Raiders were a season ago, where it's like, do we choose between Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell? Now it's like Geno's the starter, but now you just got to worry about the backup quarterback.
Yeah.
It's a better situation, but yeah, like you still need to have a backup quarterback. I wouldn't feel comfortable at all if what's his name, Cam Miller.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't feel comfortable at all with him being the.
Yeah, I wanted to see a little more than him, more of him after the first week of the preseason, and I've seen more. I don't need to see more.
Exactly. It's kind of like last night, like Adam Copeland was texting me, being like, "Dude, I think Tanner Mordecai is better than Bradley Carter or Carter Bradley," and I'm like, "Doesn't matter. They're both bad."
Yeah, I think we got to kind of assess like why we're talking about this specific thing.
Yeah,
sometimes
exactly. Like they're fighting to be the practice squad quarterback. Neither guy are making the roster come Tuesday.
Yeah.
All right, real quick, let's do your divisions, man, and let's do the division everybody loves, the NFC South. And I say that because I don't have a lot of faith that anybody is going to be a true contender in this division.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you could see a team below 500. You could see a team that just goes 9-8. And maybe that's me being disrespectful to the Buccaneers, who have won this division for the last 4 years now. But every time I go into a season, I'm like, I just don't have huge expectations for them. I think they just win by default because their division's not that great. Now, Baker Mayfield has definitely improved, and they have a great receiving core and Mike Evans. I think Chris Godwin's coming back at some point when he broke his leg a season ago. They drafted Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State.
Yeah.
So they have pieces, but like when you compare it to the other great teams, the NFC, I honestly have the Buccaneers just slightly ahead of the 49ers when I do my NFC rankings. I just don't have a lot of faith with them, even though they are pretty much a perennial playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
So just my biggest questions for them are, how will this offense look without Liam Cohen? I guess they upgraded a quarterback coach. Josh Grizzard is now their offensive coordinator.
Grizzard.
Grizzard.
The Grizzard Wizard.
I wonder if this is Mike Evans' last season on the team. This is the last year of his contract, and with them drafting Egbuka, I wonder if they're going to move off of him. And he's getting up there in age. I think he's in his early 30s now. And just lastly, like I've been saying, is this team one of the best teams in the NFC, or are they just the best team in the NFC South by default?
Right. And I think that would be the case, although maybe we'll get a little further maybe not. As we get further into the NFC South, little preview. But yeah, I'm with you. Like, I mean, I think with Bucky Irving, he's only going to get better. Can can he thrive? Like you mentioned, can he thrive without Liam Cohen there? Because I think it was Liam Cohen who kind of drew up the scheme and really had him going in his rookie year. But can they do the same thing with that two-headed monster? I'm not really seeing much as far as the defense, like at least anything that's changed.
Hassan Reddick they signed.
Yeah, I mean that's still a question mark now.
Yeah.
A couple of years removed from his best season. Vita Vea is scary, and he's awesome. Shout out to Milpitas. But other than that, like Antoine Whitfield's great. Like Jamel Dean I think he's kind of dropped off a little bit, but I don't know. I guess my big question, like bigger picture, can Baker Mayfield sustain what he did last year and prove that he's actually one of the better quarterbacks in the league? I thought he was fantastic last year. Can they stay healthy? And who are they going to spoil? Like in the NFC, I don't really put them ahead of the likes right now, at least of say the Lions or the Commanders.
No.
But whose season can they spoil? Whose postseason can they spoil, if any? I think that would be my big picture question with them.
Don't get me wrong; they're sneaky against good teams. Like they were one of the few teams to go into Detroit and beat the Lions, but that was early on, like week 2,
right,
a season ago. So, yeah, I'm always down on them, but then again, maybe I shouldn't be because they always go to the playoffs. They always surprise me, but they never really do anything spectacular.
Yeah.
Real quick. I don't know if this was your jackass of the week. You have an issue with the way the Bucs have been handling this young defensive tackle who is well over 400 pounds, and they want him to lose weight in a short amount of time, and they haven't let him practice.
Listen, man, if you are going to sign an undrafted free agent, which is essentially you telling that player, hey, maybe we'll we'll help you live out your dreams in the NFL. I think it's Desmond Watson is his name, out of the University of Florida. And he weighed in at a whopping 450 pounds, or actually even more than that. I think it was 460. It might have been 462.
That's a big man.
They brought him to training camp, and all he's been doing, let me see if I can find the photo or the video. Yeah, perfect. This is the saddest image I think I've ever seen, because at the start of training camp, maybe not the saddest image I've ever seen. There's a lot of sad images out there.
There definitely is.
Image I've seen out of the NFL offseason this year.
Okay.
They brought him into training camp and essentially said, hey, you got to lose 30 pounds before you can come and practice with us. So there were videos of him just walking, circumventing the field, just walking around, getting conditioning in. And then this video surfaced. It's pretty clear they don't have any intention of signing him. They just did it for whatever reason. And this video of him just out one of the bags is so sad, man. When the rest of the team is practicing, it's a beautiful day, and he has to be off to the side. Like, what does this do for this guy's confidence, man? What was the point in this if they are just going to not even play him? I don't get it.
Yeah, I hear you. If anything, they should have worked him out to see if he was in physical shape.
It's embarrassing, man. Like, it's embarrassing for the guy, and I really feel for him. I do.
Yeah, they definitely should have worked on his conditioning, but I don't know if they should have signed him. Like, I don't know what the expectation is for him to lose 30 pounds in a short amount of time like that. Like, he's obviously not going to make the team. He didn't even practice. Yeah. So is this just doing a favor to somebody? Is this just because of proximity? He went to Florida, and they're in Tampa Bay. So
yeah, it's a good point.
It's a weird deal. I don't know if Todd Bowles has really talked about it or Jason Light has talked about it, but yeah, it's just a weird deal.
It's so sad, man.
Yeah. I've seen sadder things in life, Steven.
Yeah, I know. Me too.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the Falcons. And this team, I thought, was a disappointment a year ago, given the acquisition of Kirk Cousins, and they were supposed to be a playoff team. Raheem Morris was, I think, a little cocky, saying, we have a ton of coaches because we're expecting all of our coaches to leave once the hiring process happens, because we're going to be a good team. We're going to be a playoff team. That did not happen. They swept the Bucs, but shit the bed down the road. And that of course, was the Kirk Cousins injury / benching. Michael Penix came in the last 3 games, played fairly well, but I still don't know about Michael Penix. And that's just my biggest question mark. Well, the acquisitions they made, weird deal in the draft. They draft Jalen Walker, who's a pass rusher, and then they trade back into the first round again with the Rams and draft another pass rusher in James Pierce. And that's something they probably should have done a year ago, is to get a young pass rusher and not just have to speed up the process and trade a first round pick again to go with more inexperience. They should have done this a year ago and maybe not have drafted Michael Penix, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, my question is Michael Penix going to be good enough to, play the whole season? And for the Falcons, they have their highest paid player is the backup quarterback and Kirk Cousins. So how long are they going to be fine with Michael Penix or be tempted to play the veteran that could get them maybe more wins? That's an interesting dilemma they have. Also, just Kyle Pitts. He was drafted 4th overall in 2021 and has not lived up to expectations. There was talks about maybe him getting traded. So is this his final season with the Falcons? It might be if he doesn't actually produce like a tight end should, that he gets lumped in with the big names just because of where he was drafted, but he's actually never produced like that. And then just finally, is Raheem Morris gone if they don't win this season? Because a lot of hype was put on this team. And same thing with Terry Fontenot. They went out and got Kirk Cousins, $40 million a year. They drafted Michael Penix, and it's resulted in nothing playoff-wise.
Yeah. You have more – I'm more bullish on Michael Penix than you are. I think he's going to be a pretty damn good player. And you mentioned the Kyle Pitts thing. The Kyle Pitts thing's interesting. Like, do they potentially trade him? Like, I don't know what's going on with Kyle Pitts. I think Bijan is in for another solid year. I really don't know much about the offensive line, so I can't really tell you. I'm not like deep in on Falcons stuff, but I do wonder about the defense. And we talked about that before. They bolstered the secondary, but did not get anything going in the pass rushing game. And last year they were, I think, the NFL's worst pass rushing team by
yes, they were
metrics. And they did completely try. At least they tried to upgrade their defense, signing Leonard Floyd, and then Divine Diablo went over there too.
Yeah, I
and
forgot
then
about that.
Obviously you got those 2 rookies that you mentioned. So I guess that would be it. Like, can that defense just keep up with the offense and not lose them games, and maybe put them in a position where Michael Penix is just more comfortable? What would you say though, Derek? It's I think their win totals at 7.5 right now. That's what the line's at. And last year they had 8 wins. I mean, I'm thinking over. Like, I think this could be a 9-win team if Michael Penix actually flourishes. And I'm not going to put it out of the realm of possibility. I think Raheem Morris is a good coach. I do. So I'm not going to put it out of the realm of possibility that, say the Buccaneers just aren't as strong as they were last year. Maybe they leapfrog them in the NFC South. It's kind of I'm not going to say it's an open division, but I think first place is to be had.
Yeah, it's not out of the realm of possibility, but at the same time, it's just speeding up the process where I'm not saying that Michael Penix isn't ready to go. He should be ready to go. But with what the expectations are, I think it's just too soon for what this team was supposed to be. This team was supposed to win the division first and foremost and then compete in the NFC. Yeah. I don't think they're even close to that right now. I think Arthur Blank was expecting something else than what's happening right now. So it'll be growing pains for Michael Penix, but also it's tough. Like, Cam Ward and these other quarterbacks are not looking over their shoulder where there's a $40 million quarterback that might be better than you.
Totally.
So I think it's going to be a weird deal. And I think they, even though I didn't hate the Michael Penix move, now I'm thinking about it and I'm just like, who does this benefit? It really doesn't benefit Michael Penix's growth. And if anything, they should have moved on from Kirk Cousins and just kind of, gone with the flow of, all right, it is what it is. We have to have Michael Penix learn to be a quarterback in this league, and there's going to be tough years ahead of us. Instead, it's, no, we still want to win. So I don't know what to make of it. And if I had to say right now on the 7.5 win total, I'd probably go under.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they haven't gone over 500 since 2017.
Yeah.
So they're not a very well-run organization, I don't think. Since Dan Quinn left the franchise, you haven't really had much of an answer. So.
All right, then the other 2 teams, the Carolina Panthers, they drafted Tedero McMillan, who I wasn't a huge fan of seeing him in college, but they do need receiving help. We'll see about Adam Thielen. The rumor is that he could get traded back to Minnesota. And I don't think there's huge expectations for this team. I think people are expecting them to improve on, 5 wins a year ago. But, if you're expecting Bryce Young to be, it's crazy. Like Bryce Young, I think, has different expectations than that of Caleb Williams. And I think it's just because of the market. Caleb Williams was a bigger draft prospect, and he went to USC, and now he plays for the Chicago Bears. So if they don't make the playoffs, or at least they don't win 9 games, it's seen as a failure, especially with getting Ben Johnson. With the Panthers, it's different. I think that they just want to see improvement with Bryce Young, and I think that they just want to see Dave Canales make the offense that much better. But I guess just my biggest question, I really don't have a lot of expectations for the Panthers. Just can Bryce Young get this team to the next level? That's basically it.
Can their defense actually be the not worst defense in the NFL?
Yeah.
Mentioned that the Falcons had the worst pass rush in the league last year, but if you're looking at the overall defense, the Carolina Panthers was far and away the worst. I think they gave up more yards per game than any other team. I think the Jaguars were second, and we talked about that the last pod, but the Panthers are absolutely the worst. So I think the quarterback kind of goes without saying. But can he do that with a boosted offensive line? I just learned this. Didn't realize Trevon Merrick went to the Panthers, so he'll be patrolling safety, patrolling the deep field for them. I don't know. I don't have much for them. I guess I'm excited to see McMillan though. I was touting up McMillan earlier before the draft, saying that if the Raiders got him, I wouldn't be too mad at that because they'd probably have a guy who's bound to be a number 1 receiver. Does he work with Bryce Young? Does he work with the scheme? It all remains to be seen. I don't have much expectation for the Panthers. I think their win total's at like 6.5. I think it's going to be right around there, 6-7 wins.
Seems about right. All right. Lastly, we have the New Orleans Saints, and they drafted Kelvin Banks Jr. from Texas. They drafted Tyler Shuck in the 2nd round. Derek Carr retires. To me, if you're going to do a ranking before the season starts of all 32 teams, they're 32. And that's basically just based on the quarterback position. I think they have talented guys here or there, and Alvin Kamara, who definitely could be on the trading block if they're not a good team. Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave, they have talent, but quarterback-wise, you're dealing with the likes of Spencer Rattler, Jake Haener, and Tyler Shuck. I don't know what the hell to expect from the New Orleans Saints this year. So my biggest question marks are how will Kellen Moore be as a head coach? Who's the quarterback? Will they be the worst team in football?
It's the Kellen Moore thing for me. Kellen Moore, that's it. The Saints have just not found a way to get into a flow really since Drew Brees has been done, even though they look like remember that last year when they looked like they were going to be like a top 5 offense because Derek Carr was just throwing 70-yard bombs to who was that wide receiver?
Rashid Shaheed. The name rhymes.
We all thought that they were going to be like the best offense in the league. And then obviously it petered out and we saw what happened. I think teams are just going to roll over the Saints. I don't even know what they're in this year. I guess it reminds me of the Niners in 2017 when they just hired a team. They got some, they got some pieces, but this grand scheme of things, they are a couple of years away from maybe like being a force in the NFC South. I don't know. It's only going to get worse before it gets better, I think, with the Saints.
Yeah, and I need to see more of Tyler Shuck, but I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if he's just the guy like a Jimmy Clausen type, if you remember him from Carolina, where you're drafted in the 2nd round and you're the starter for a season and you turn out to be a really bad team, and then the head coach is like, all right, let's get our actual guy.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for the NFC South. Before we get out of here, let's do Jackass of the Week real quick. Anybody that was commenting on Shedeur Sanders yesterday, I thought it was ridiculous. Or the Sanders family. You had Robert Littall Stephen, that you sent me this morning.
Justina Anderson.
Yeah. Everybody is wanting to make Shedeur Sanders like he could do nothing wrong. And I will say it was twofold this weekend, where I saw people react to the quote where he was asked, do you think you're going to make the team? And he goes, obviously. You need context with that, because I'm sure some people are like, you think you're just granted a roster spot because of your dad? Obviously, prove something. if you see the clip, he smiles in that very charismatic smile he has, and he's just like, obviously. And it's a way of saying, like, I'm confident in myself. I have no issue with that. Watching him play yesterday, though, he has no sense of pressure. He just runs backwards all the time. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying like he's done anything horrible as far as turn the ball over or interceptions, but he is not ready to play. So everybody that's just propping him up right now, just being like he could do no wrong. How are you going to tell Shador Sanders he can't play? This is the NFL. We're not in Colorado anymore. Everybody needs to calm the fuck down.
I think there's also, and I think what that one little quote that you mentioned, the one about how he's making the team. Listen, he's had a smile on his face, and I think he's handled. To be honest, I think he's handled his post-draft weekend slide. I think he's handled that actually better than a lot of the media has. I think he's handled it admirably. But what you saw last night was a lack of accountability after the game. Did you happen to see like his post game without that quote?
No, I did not.
Yeah, he was asked about his performance, and he's like, "I don't think it was that bad. Like just some things that some things that I can improve on here and there." And you could just tell that he's like coping with it. And I don't know. For me, if I'm hearing a quarterback speak like that, who's been as touted as he was, like it's okay to say that you played terribly. Like it's very rare where you see quarterbacks even praise themselves a little bit. Well, not very rare, but you mostly see them immediately go to the areas where they can improve, right? But the first thing that he said was, "Well, I didn't play too bad. I thought I played all right."
Yeah.
And it's not terrible. Like I don't hate the guy, but you hear those little things and you're just like, okay, like come on, man, you could be honest. It's okay. It's not like we're gonna think any less of you if you say that you played terribly.
I don't think he played terribly, but I think that he needs to realize that you cannot just run backwards. And
Right.
like he got sacked for 23 yards.
Yeah.
Like don't be surprised in the regular season when they bench Joe Flacco if they go with Dylan Gabriel first. And people are just going to go crazy when that happens.
And also let's make sure we give a little more context to the viewers here that are watching this. Like these are where this is like how much these people are trying to blame the Browns or blame the situation. Which one was the worst?
This one, right?
Not just Cena. Cena's was bad,
Yeah.
Like this is just I don't even know like what her point was. But this one where it's just so Kevin Stefanski gives Dylan Gabriel easy short routes with max protection and then gives Shador Sanders bullshit plays with an O-line that looks like they just ate a gang of little Debbies. Fuck you, Browns, trade Shador. Like it's just too much. It's just too much.
That's bound to happen when Shador is as polarizing as he is.
Yeah.
And it's only going to get worse. You'll see it on First Take where it turns into something more than it needs to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. And I think I don't know if I said this when the draft started, but look, man, he's almost lucky that he didn't play get drafted in the top 10. Because had he been drafted in the top 10, let's just say by the Browns, and he played like that, oh boy. Oh man. Because what I saw on NFL Network after was like Baldy, who's as measured and level-headed as anyone. When he was giving his analysis, he said, yeah, he looked like a 5th round pick.
Exactly.
So like, I mean, he's almost fortunate that he wasn't, besides the money thing, obviously there's the money, but I don't think Shador's not having any problem with money, no problem with that at all.
No, he'll make the team, and this will become a talking point all season long. That's why I'm sure the Browns weren't happy that they had to draft him in the first place.
And I'm not going to sit here and I don't think either of us are going to sit here and say that he doesn't have a chance to be a good quarterback in the NFL. He absolutely does. But that was just
he needs time.
It was just a bad game. It was a bad game.
Yeah, people are going to just react, like there's going to be celebrities like Jamie Foxx. They're like, put him in now. It's like, no, I think Kevin Stefanski knows a lot more football than everybody else on Twitter right now.
Right.
Real quick, Shiloh Sanders was released today. The brother of.
I mean, I'm sorry, but that's my jackass of the week, dude.
No, yeah, go for it. Go for it.
I didn't have any others. I really like that was my one from last night. It's just you punch a guy and then you get ejected, then you get released from the team. I actually loved how Shiloh Sanders was approaching it. I don't know if you saw the beginning of training camp, the videos that were coming out of Buccaneers media, but he said he was going to be the snack guy. He was making everybody laugh. He's like, I'm the snack guy. Look, I'll figure out which snack everybody likes, and I'll be bringing them in every single day. Like
Yeah.
he looked like, I don't know. That's the thing with him and Shador. They look like they're kind of funny. That not look like, but they sound they're funny. They're funny people.
Yeah.
And they sound like they are. They can make you laugh. And that though, when you punch another player at the end of a preseason game and then you get released, sorry to kind of pile on, Shiloh, but you're the jackass of the week for that one, man.
I would say he's a jackass for, that basically maybe have ended his career in the NFL. But also, Jordan Schultz, like, I defended this guy in the past where he's not getting the, credit for a report. But last night, him tweeting out, what a joke. Bucks rookie safety Shiloh Sanders was ejected for this. Like, really? Be better, NFL refs. Shiloh punched the guy in the face. He did. That's what happens in the NFL. If you punch another player, you're ejected. I don't think we need to bend the rules for Shiloh Sanders because Jordan Schultz obviously has connection with his agent. Like, I get that a lot of these reporters are paid off. Like Schefter and Rappaport, they're all working for somebody. They're all working for an owner. They're all, working for an agent. But this is just ridiculous. For Jordan Schultz, he makes it so obvious that be better, NFL. That's a fucking ridiculous thing to say. He punched another guy in the face. You get ejected when that happens in any sport.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
All right.
Must have been what Rappaport wanted to do at Starbucks.
Seriously. And you know what? I'm starting to think, like Rappaport, I don't blame him. The guy sounds annoying. You talk to any NFL insider, they do not have respect for the guy. Anyway, all right. We'll do pop culture catch-up next time. And we'll get into the Cowboys documentary. I've been watching it. I have the same critiques as you, Steven, where it's a lot of Jerry Jones. So we'll be back, how about Thursday? Because the Giants, again, are playing on a night game on next Wednesday.
I think I got a draft that day, but...
What time?
7.
Oh, that late?
Yeah, Derek.
All right, we'll figure it out. We'll be back next week. We'll figure out a day and a time. We'll give it to you. Everybody in the chat.
Wait, why do we? Okay, hang on.
You told me you had to leave. All right.
No, but why do we have to? Why would we have to do a game that might conflict with the Giants on Wednesday? Like, does it matter?
No, it really doesn't. I mean, at this point, it really doesn't. I don't like people in the chat like to watch the Giants, but they'll probably lose to the Cubs.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's like I don't think we have to make room for the Giants,
Yeah, you're right. I just think that when they have the day games, more people come in to listen and whatnot. But yeah, whatever. People can watch the Giants game simultaneously. You are correct, Steven. We'll figure it out. Probably Wednesday next week. To everybody in the chat, to Skills Report, to Rocket New Era, to AJ Cruz, to Lauren F, to Pat H, to Ernie 1, to Tacky, I believe to Daniel Ogden, to Jesse. I think that's it. All right, everybody. We will see you most likely on Wednesday. Steven, say what you always say.
Go watch Low on the Games with Names or Names with Games, whatever it's called, the podcast with Julian Edelman. He spent 2.5 hours with him, and it was awesome. I highly recommend it. That's just our opinion, man. Oh, God, how do I